Hello and welcome back to Seeded Sports. आज हमारे घर आए हैं Shoomit. Shoomit is one person जिनका opinion I personally really look up to on Twitter. That's how I know him. Anybody who supports Liverpool knows who Shoomit is. He's a common name in the Liverpool community. Thank you so much, Shoomit, for joining us today. Very grateful to you for taking out the time.
My pleasure, Akshata.
Shoomit, if we could start with how did you get into supporting Liverpool? कैसे Liverpool आया in your life?
It's an interesting one, actually. In the late 1990s, first of all, I'm originally from India, right? But in those days, because satellite television was not available, we were not able to see these Premier League matches, right? We used to always read it in the newspaper, right? So, and then start following about Manchester United. I was a big team at that time. Liverpool, obviously, huge heritage and a big brand name because of the success in the 70s, 80s, and so on. But then I started following, and the big teams like Manchester United and Liverpool were the two biggest, right? And then since I moved to the US, one of my manager and his direct report was from Liverpool, and he was talking about, oh, do you follow Liverpool? And he had a big influence on me. Not that I was not supporting or actively following, but he had a big influence on me. And then I started actively following, the starting days of Stevie G and actively. And then once I moved to the US, I started regularly watching the matches live, right? And then that's where the story began. And then active participation, and now with the advent of social media since 2010, 12 onwards, now you're kind of more deep rooted to it, right? Earlier it was more of like newspaper, radio if it is live, and because of the the time zone differences, right? It was not so difficult, easy to follow. But here now, I can get up early in the morning, catch the match, and watch the match. Then off to work if it is a weekday, and then also weekdays is a perfect timing. Where I am. So that's how we
Yeah.
started.
So you're a morning person. That's why it works for you, right? For someone like me who does not like the sunshine in the morning, it's not easy. I'm
Well, yes, I am a morning person, but not that early, right? I don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had been in the West Coast. Luckily, I'm in the East Coast, so that's why it's easier.
yeah.
I know some people, some guys, like they get up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning if it is an early match, right? Like a 12:30 kickoff time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
UK time. So I'm a morning person because I have to get up for my work and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we are going to speak about Arne Slot, who's going to be the next head coach of Liverpool Football Club. That's what it's looking like. It's not official yet. But Abhi, he also gave a press conference, and it was just evident on his face that it's just a sign, done deal. So I don't think there's anything hidden now. He's also not able to hide his excitement anymore. And he's coming to the club in the capacity of a head coach. Before we start to talk about him, Shumit, if you could just help us understand what's the difference between a manager and a head coach.
Yeah, see, head coach, like, I think if you go back a little bit, right, when Brendan Rodgers was appointed, right, he was primarily kind of a head coach, coaching the young team, the team how to play. But over a period of time, if you look at Klopp, right, he became more of a manager who looks after the other aspects of managing, like making sure not on the pitch, but spending more time about the big picture, right? So, so I think his primarily job would be coaching the team, with his assistants, right, that he's bringing in, and he would be less responsible for recruitment or have a big say in finalizing deals in terms of the transfers and stuff like that, right? He will still maintain what Klopp is doing every week, like press conferences and stuff like that. He will be responsible to do that. But overall, the decision on transfers and the decision of the overall the club, right, the administration and stuff like that, he will not be actively involved. So from that perspective, like for example, like when we talk about Liverpool now, which is Klopp in mind, you're like the face is basically, Jurgen Klopp, right? The manager. When Jurgen says something, he's basically okay. Liverpool is saying something because FSG hardly comes out and talks about the club, and there is no one. The president of the CEO of football Liverpool Football Club, they don't. He doesn't come out and speak, often, right? So that there's a big difference in that. It's basically your primary responsibility, and will be coaching the team, with a strategy, and everything, all kind of actively participating, and as part of that, he will be also be responsible in the lower levels, right, of the team, right? For example, the under 21s, the academy, right? So we have a huge academy, and we have a good success rate from the academy. So he will be nurturing those talents, helping those talents, and bringing those talents up, from our system. So that's what his primary responsibility. Now, over a period of time, if he can, maintain that success that Jurgen had, you never know that he will be basically, get more power and more say, and will be authoritative in terms of driving, who he wants, how he wants, and when he wants, right? So ultimately, it remains to be seen. But right now, he's basically going to be more about the coaching role rather than looking at the other aspects of the club.
Okay, understood, understood. So now coming to Slot, who is this person? Because we've seen so many rumors coming up. There were so many names that popped up, and now it's Slot who will be joining us. Can you tell us more about this man and his work and what can be expected of him then?
Yeah, so interesting enough, right? So Slot is a very young manager who has established himself in the last 3 4 years or so. Before 2020, 2021, I don't think anybody had, in Europe have, they've heard of him as a manager. He was a midfielder, right? In the Netherlands, and he was basically was used to play number 8, number 10 role. He was not that super athletic or super fast, but he used to, like a proper number 10. He used to kind of think in his brain 2 3 moves in advance, and that's how he used to run the game in his mind, in his brain, right? So I think he's a midfielder by definition when he was a player. And then he kind of had a I wouldn't call it like Xavi Alonso type of rise, but if you think of it, these achievements is actually not being spoken that much in the media yet, or
Mm.
at least not in England or in other countries, big countries. But he had a kind of a stellar rise, if you look at it from Alcamas to move to Feyenoord, right? In the first season, like he had a huge exodus of players, about 74, 75 million euros of players left. I think he had like four from what he inherited left in the team. And then he kind of brought in new players, all below the age of 24. And he spent about 28 million euros, 28 to 30 million euros. I could be wrong on the number. So think about it. That's a net profit that he gave. And then he won the title. So that's kind of huge, right? With all due respect, for a size of Feyenoord club, right? And then he went on to win the Dutch Cup, which is kind of our FA Cup in England, like there. So, and then he went to the quarter final of, I think, Europa League, and then the first Europa Conference League. He went to the final, but both times he got beaten by AS Roma, Mourinho's AS Roma, right? Unfortunately, so he could have won more titles, but unfortunately he didn't. Um, and then the only thing is that he doesn't have too much of Champions League experience. I
Hmm.
think so far in his tenure, I think he has been in the group stage, but not progressed beyond the group stage, right? Won only 2 league games. So from that perspective, he doesn't have too much of a Champions League experience, like at the highest level.
Hmm.
So what is he as a manager? I think, look, it's the same set of information that you and I have probably, but I think he's a very um, um friendly person. Um, very reachable. I think he's very close to the players, a man manager, as they say, um, and he works with the players first and foremost. So doesn't spend too much time off the field, like we said, and that's why he's kind of the head coach, like works with the manager and individually cater to their needs, right, and how he can develop. So he's known
Hmm.
for developing players coming from the under 18s, under 17s, and under 21s, right, and that's how he's developing these players in his current team. So that is obviously one big box that got ticked off in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes,
Hmm.
list, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to end up in a situation like other big clubs that we know where, big personality clash, right, between the
Yeah, yeah.
manager and the player. Like we have seen that with Jose Mourinho, we have seen that with Eric Ten Hag right now, Van Gaal, and then also Pep Guardiola, right? Pep Guardiola hired, how many right backs in his first couple of years, and then he go like, oh, I don't want them. The next, then right backs they're gone. He bought a goalkeeper from Spain, right? And then it's like he didn't like it. He replaced them with Ederson, right? So there is personality. Obviously, personality is with all big managers. It will come. It's part and parcel of of your style. But so far, it's not there, which is good news. So, but it remains to be seen how he can get along with the big stars that we have in our team. It's not a young team, right? It's a very established, matured team, not the team that Klopp inherited from Brendan Rodgers in 2015, but a very matured and I would say successful team. So with success, obviously there lies a lot of burden and responsibility. Okay, I'm not. It's not like starting from zero. There's already a benchmark is so high that
There's so
then
much unlearning also then.
exactly.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I think it remains to be seen how he can get along with the top players, the Salahs, the Virgil van Dijk, even Trent, right? We have seen Trent like he showed his displeasure at when he's not starting or was there's some altercations between Klopp and him and stuff like that, or so these are the stars of the in the side, and they are all proven stars, right? And it's not easy to work with so many stars in the team.
Yeah.
However, we don't have the issues that other big clubs have. So we have been very successful in managing the dressing room, cooperation and I would say
Harmony.
harmony, peace. We don't even if there are, it doesn't show out with some exceptions like what
Yeah,
happened.
occasionally. Yeah.
So yeah, so you get my point. So that remains to be seen. So that part is still unknown how he will get along. But from
Yeah.
the coaching perspective, obviously he ticked all the boxes, and his success has been proven in Europe. However, that being said, it's a you have to take this with a pinch of salt. Uh, no Dutch managers have been successful in England,
Hmm.
and there are some big names, right? So you have Gus Hiddink, you have Louis van Gaal, we have Erik Ten Hag, right? He could lose his job next season. Um, we have Ruud Gullit, wonderful player, but was not successful. We have Ronald Koeman, right? Not successful. So Dutch managers are not successful in England because of various reasons. But
Yeah.
so whether Slot would be an exception to that rule, that remains to be seen.
Or maybe the jinx breaker.
Maybe the
That's
jinx.
yeah,
Yeah.
the much needed. But while doing some research and stuff, there are opinions on who his managerial style matches to or resembles. Pep's name popped up. Arteta's name popped up. There have been comparisons, and there has been credit, as you mentioned, that he's known to develop players, which is something that what that sort of intrigued me a lot. That that he has that capability, and we do have players on board. For instance, McAllister. It's quite evident that he can play at multiple positions if he is developed in that way, and if a manager is coming on board already knowing what McAllister is capable of, there's so much to do. So who's, in your opinion, whose managerial style does he resemble the most, and who will be some of the key players that he will be looking forward to work with mostly, or can match up to what he brings to the table?
Yeah, so I think he has expressed it openly that he's a big admirer of Pep Guardiola, and his style of football, right? Without going into technicalities of it or the details of it, but the way Pep plays from the back,
Hmm.
also that resembles to some extent Brighton's manager Deserby's
Yeah.
style of football, right? So you play, and if you recall, not this season but last season, the way his team was playing, right, with McAllister and
Yeah.
Caicedo, right? Pep himself said that Brightons are the best team in Europe who plays from the back, and
Yeah.
that's an art. It requires a lot of coaching, practice, and also technical ability to do that. It is not you know easy, right? If you cannot train and coach someone, there has to be some technical ability to do that. Certain key players can do that, right? For example,
Hmm.
in Manchester City, right, if you have seen, sometimes they get clogged up and they cannot get out of it. So
Hmm.
who gets them out of that from the back? Technical player, which is David Silva. um, you know so uh, so he goes in, so gets the ball out and recovers them, and bails them out because of his technicality, because he's a good dribbler, he's fast, he's swift, right? Sorry, Bernardo Silva. Why did I say David Silva? Bernardo Silva, right? So similarly, I think his style is also similar to that of the doctrine of De Zerbi and Pep. However, I think the pressing style is kind of similar to Klopp's pressing style in the initial days of Klopp. If you remember that
Hmm.
Klopp's high press, right, higher up the pitch, right? So that is also similar. So we cannot say that he's more Pep or more Deserby, but it's a combination. There is a combination of few great minds, and that's how the modern football or the is being played. It's the boring old style of football is no more there, and that's how these managers are so attractive, and so
Yeah.
because they want to express themselves with their philosophy of football. That's why we were interested in Xavi Alonso, right? And unfortunately we didn't get him, but that's a different story altogether. But all these managers are expressing their philosophy through attractive football, through press, through counter press. And even if you can't, if you get clubbed, okay, then what do? You with the long balls. So then you adapt to the long balls. So it is definitely true that he is a big admirer, and a lot of his football philosophy is Guardiola's tiki taka football. But at the same time, it is also true that he we can see, if you follow Feyenoord, right, you can see resemblance of Brighton's De Zerbi's style of football as well from the back, how to
Yeah.
develop from the back, right?
Yeah.
And to your next question, like who are the key players in that system? Obviously, the current set of players, McAllister would be the you know would be key, very much key, because he's kind of technical at the same time he can play number 10,
Hmm.
he can play 8, and he can play 6,
Yeah.
right? So, and Slot likes these type of versatility, right? So Trent, for example, he can be the right back, he can play in the middle, so inverted role, so versatility. Joe Gomez could be a key player too if he wants to stay. It looks like he is weighing his options right now to see some, look somewhere else. The versatility is key. On the other hand, the key players would be the wingers on both sides, and he's a big believer in wing play. So if you look at his current team, he has a lot of wing. Currently, we are looking for wingers right now. Although the question of Mo Salah is up in the air, but regardless, even if Salah stays there, he's looking for more wingers because he wants on wing play to be intense all throughout the match. So that's
Hmm.
why he's looking for more wingers from both sides, and that's how he wants like his wingers. If you follow, he doesn't play them full 90 minutes. He takes them out because it takes a lot because you go up and down the wingers. They're like so much. I mean, you see Luis Diaz, like how much workload he takes, right? So
Hmm.
by the time there's 70, 80 minutes, he looks completely exhausted because he probably, ran from 12 to 15 kilometers by that time. So I think the wing players would be key, and that's what they're looking at to buy more wingers in this transfer market, and those would be the key players in his system.
Yeah. And
But I
coming
don't
to the next,
claim that
sorry.
who would be successful, but obviously, if the starting 11 or the current crop of players remains, they can all be successful in that system because it's not something new that they would be playing. There could be some tweaks here and there, but we don't know yet, like who will stay and who will go.
Yeah. But knowing, like following Slot's work and knowing our system so well, who do you think are the players who may not be able to adjust to the system?
Uh, it's hard to say. And from the current midfielders, McAllister can adjust, Szoboszlai can adjust, right? Jones can adjust. Endo probably, yeah, he can play eight, he can play six, right? So they can all adjust. Um, there's a big question mark on, you would hate me for this, Darwin Nunes, right? So depending what his role would be, um, whether he can adjust or whether Slot can make him look much more composed because he's known to develop and calm in front of the goal, and that's what he's missing this season, right?
Hmm.
If we can get that sorted out, maybe he can adjust, but there's a big question mark there, right? So, and there's also a big question mark on, not a big question mark. There's a question mark on um, how we want to use Mohamed Salah. He can continue to do what he's doing. However,
Hmm.
it is a known fact that he has lost the pace, which is understandable given that he would be 32 this summer. So how he wants to use him. Um, so maybe he will not use him for the whole 90 minutes. Maybe he will
Hmm.
use him for the first 60, 70 minutes and then bring in more pace, right? More raw talent and quality. So all the players that we have, so the good news is this. The good news is that in Klopp's system, most of the players are versatile.
Hmm.
Like it's Joe Gomez plays left back and right back and centre back. Like the amount of time that this season that he has played in an inverted role as a right back and left back. And at some point in this season, we were thinking when Robertson came back, we are like, wait, how can we drop Joe Gomez from left back? He has
Yeah.
been fantastic. So this versatility, they can all adapt. Now the question is how much of you want more technicality in the current team, or you want more experience lot with the current team, and then maybe do some tweaks here and there.
Hmm. Hmm.
In that system, I think all of them can adapt to slot system. I don't think there is a huge variation to Klopp system to slot system. It's a matter of how they want to adapt to his coaching style, his philosophy, which again is not that different, and how he wants to utilize Darwin Nunes. That is a very central piece that is still unknown. So, if you want me to put one name out there, it would be Darwin Nunes right now. And again, I'm
Okay.
that he won't be successful under Slot. I'm saying that there is a lot of learning curve on both sides.
Yeah,
Slot needs
yeah.
to learn how Darwin works, and Darwin needs to know how he can be better in front of the goal. Because right now he's doing everything. He's doing all the things right. 99% he's doing right. His moves, off the ball moves, his shots, everything right. But more often than not, either he hits the crossbar or the sidebar or
Or
completely
straight to
misses
the
the ball.
keeper. Yeah. Where do you see, because I know that you have been critical of Salah, where do you see him next season? Do you think he's going to stay, or do you think he's going to leave? I did a podcast with Nidhi, and Nidhi pointed out a very interesting thing about Edwards, that like the club sits down with people and understands what they are looking for. There's a good conversation that happens. If somebody wants to look for other opportunities, we will not stop them. So we have a system in place for that, and with Edwards coming, we'll make sure that it further smoothens up. But realistically, do you think that Salah will stay? And do you think, from our perspective, also it's okay for him to stay? Like practically, of course, we all love Salah. It's not, he is our star player. We love him. But practically, if you think about it,
Yeah, so that's a $1 million question right now, right? So will Salah stay or will he leave? And if he stays, whether that's a right decision or not, right? So look, Fenway Sports Club, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's an entertainment. It is passion. It is everything else. But at the end of the day, it is business, right? And who is the cash cow right now in your team? Obviously, Mohamed Salah, right? Last year, we got a huge bid for him from Saudi Arabia. I think they're still interested in him. So we will probably get uh, a knock from them again at the door, and there would be interest. There would be interest from one big club in Europe uh, for him. However, again, it is we don't do like business in a very ruthless manner. And when I say
mm,
ruthless, meaning it's not like, oh, we don't treat you like crap, like we don't want to deal with you, you're out, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's not how we do. We do business, or we treat with our players, right? Especially a legend, and a legend who has served the club for more than 7 years and had been elite. Forget about being good, great, whatever. Elite in Europe, right? There are a lot of right now in YouTube, like I know there's been going on. Oh, is Salah great? Is he world class? He's very good. People say, oh, he's very good, but is he world class? Okay. The problem is most of these narrators or these pundits, they all have recency. They all have recency bias. If and all we fans also have recency bias, including myself, right? So if you don't play the last 4 matches or 3 matches, it's like, oh, he's crap. Get him out of the door. But we have to always look into things with the right perspective, right? It is not so easy to come back um, after the injury that he had, right, after AFCON, and to maintain that same level, right? Number one. Number two, it is also not so easy because we were at a critical point in the season where a small mistake can completely shatter
mm,
your aspirations for the season. The issue was it was not just Mohamed Salah, it was all our frontline
yeah,
attackers were either lacking confidence, there's a dip in form, everything happened together. including Mohamed Salah. Now, one could see easily that he had a big drop in form, 100%, right? And it can happen to any player. He has been playing, is maintaining that level, that bar is so high that all of a sudden you see, oh, he's not doing anything. But maybe, player like him, he can, stand there for 50 minutes doing nothing, and then one pass or one, magic, and then you're done, right? And then you're like, oh, what a great player he is, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching. I was in Qatar when the World Cup, right? And I was watching the game. Argentina versus um, Mexico, and I was like, wait, he's not doing anything. Messi just standing there, not doing anything, not even like walking, strolling, as if he's strolling in the park at 8:30 at night, right? I'm like, wait, where is his intensity? Has he given up? Because that was a crucial match. If they had lost that match, done. You know, all of a sudden he gets the ball, dribbles past two guys, boom, goal, and
Hmm.
that's what he did. So player like him doesn't need to be, super intense, super active, and you have to manage him. So the challenge for Slot now is to manage him. How you want to utilize Salah? You will not get the output from him like you're getting from Luis Diaz, like, oh, coming down and helping the defenders and then going up again to attack. The You have to manage his time. You have to manage him to get the maximum out of him. Now the
Hmm.
question is, where do we stand with his contract? He has only 1 year left. If he wants to, the thing is, he wants to play at the highest level, meaning he wants to play in Europe. I I'll be highly surprised if he goes to Saudi Arabia, uh,
Hmm.
because he wants to. His desire is basically to play Champions League and play continuously. Uh, I don't think because of money or the lure of money, he will go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Money is not the motivating factor.
That is not a motivating factor for. If we would be highly surprised and shocked if that if he goes there for that. The question then remains: what do we do with him? We offer him a contract extension, saying, and if he says, "Okay, I will extend," then all good. We keep him, and it is very hard to replace a player like Salah. So
Hmm.
even though he's 32, I think he
Yeah.
still has enough to make a difference in the Premier League, even if he plays,
Hmm.
let's say, 70%, 75% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So
I also
that's
have a question to add on to this. How much does the fact that he is also marketable face for the club? How much does that play a role in this kind of a decision?
it does. It does in terms of the commercial side of it is plays a role, and
Hmm.
that's why when they decided to give him a new contract at 350,000 pounds per week, that is factored in because in Africa they buy mostly Salah shirts. Even in outside in the United States, most of the Liverpool shirts are of Mohamed Salah. So there's a commercial side to it, definitely, right? So you cannot ignore that. You absolutely cannot ignore that. The question remains that it's still a huge number to give
Hmm.
him a contract for another 3 years, right? It's a big
Hmm.
decision, right? He's not going to get younger. Yes, he will perform. He is not going to get fitter. He will have issues now surfacing more and more. Therefore, either you got to be bold and be ruthless, which I don't think they will proactively be. It will be boiled down to what do you want?
Hmm.
If you want to extend, then fine. If you don't want, if once he wants to run down his contract, then I think a pragmatic decision needs to be taken by Edwards and company.
Hmm.
And then they will say, wait, we have to be, because I don't think in my mind they can let him go for free. given that his book value is still 80 million plus in this day and age.
Yeah.
That's too much of a loss to take.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Makes
where I
sense.
stand. So my criticism on him is basically, obviously it's kind of more like many fans, like last 3 4 matches just didn't feel like he was in it.
Yeah.
He was in it. He
Ever
was,
since the international break ended, actually, I feel.
yeah, ever since he came back, I don't think he was basically, because I don't know the reason, to be honest with you, because I thought that one player who always played for the title, the cup, all the thing, right, and the big match player. He's a big match player. So I think he lost that touch, lost his form big time with the injury and everything. He's just like, wait a second, that's not how we have seen him play.
Hmm.
So I mean, the misses that he had is this. He used to score that with his eyes closed. So,
Yeah.
so that's the thing. So, at one point, we have to come to take a pragmatic decision. Like it's either you sell him or you keep him, and if you keep him, make sure that you have him for another 3 4 years.
Hmm.
And it would be a good thing for the young talent too to learn from him. Like for example, um, there's a lot of young players who have learned so much from Salah, his lifestyle, how he eats, how he practices, how he trains, right? That's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And who else? Who is better than Mohamed Salah?
Yeah. A lot of changes are happening now in the club. We have, of course, secured our spot in the Champions League, but next season is gonna be like full of changes, right from the top admin level to our to our head coach, and to, of course, there will be a lot of new players coming in and going out. How do you think this partnership between Slot and Edwards will, help Liverpool Football Club? And how do you see the next season for us? In my personal opinion, we all have to be very patient. We'll have to give them that, time to adjust to the news. Like that's what fans can do, to be more patient. But overall, where do you see this heading towards?
So that's a very good question actually. So Liverpool fans are in general patient compared to other big fans. They are not that delusional, although there you will find few here and there.
Yeah.
Um, I think the big litmus test for Slot would be to ensure that at least we have top four next season.
Mm.
So if he falls short of that, I don't think that Liverpool fans would be happy with him. See, the thing is, when Klopp arrived, we were at eighth in the league or ninth in the league, I believe, right? And at that time, the season before, we were fifth and we qualified for Europa. And then
Mm.
that season, when Klopp took over, we were, you know, in shambles. We were like losing and we were not able to win and all that kind of. We were eighth in the league, and then we went all the way to the Europa uh, final. We lost it, of course. So we saw the progress. We saw the progress not just in terms of the you know the result, but also in the performance. There was a
Mm.
style. There were people, Liverpool fans was very much associated with that style, the attacking
Mm.
style, the kung fu style, the rock and roll style. So they loved it, and obviously we were there was no title or cup glory to show, but we were you know kind of patient enough and give him the time to develop. And slowly he removed all the dead weight, and then brought him his own choice of players. And Edwards played a big role in that. So this time it is very different. It is not building from zero. You
Yeah.
have now the challenge is basically how do we keep Virgil van Dijk, right? That's going to be the first priority to give him a contract, new contract. How
Mm.
do you make sure that Trent is happy? How do you make sure what do you do with Mo Salah, right? So all these questions are there. and then there would be a few tweaks here and there. And we may need two more midfielders. We need one or two attacking players on both sides, and maybe a different, a centre back, definitely a centre back, right, and a goalkeeper. But that's good. Not like what Klopp inherited, right? Because Klopp
Hmm.
have that much of a technical or talent pool or a star performer in that team, apart from Coutinho at
Hmm.
that time, right? So so I think next season, first few matches, make sure that we don't lose or lose many points. He has
Yeah.
to start on a good note, and then obviously end of the season, top four is a must. That is the minimum. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for
Yeah.
Slot.
Makes sense. I have one last question for you, Shumit, which is, and the reason why I'm asking this question is because today itself, we have finalized and made it public that the women's team has a new home stadium. Even the Melwood Training Center was, completely renovated for the women's team. What are your views on FSG in general and their work? I know it can be a long answer, but like if you can, do you think our owners are doing a good job? And but
For
I
me,
mean, I'm just saying it from the women's side of things because I was really pleasantly surprised because if you just see the trajectory that the women's team is going and the plans that they have with the Saint Helen Stadium, it just sounds that there is a bigger goal in mind. It just feels that everything is being done right. So
yeah,
overall,
yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't think they get all the credit or all the due credit. They get all the, you know,
criticism.
criticisms, backlash, and whatever you want to call it, based on transfer windows, right? Which is mainly men football centric. The Look, I think from the business, like I said in the beginning, right? It is a business, although it
Mm.
is, it's our passion, it's our life and everything. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and you have to run it successfully. You have to do it in a right manner. From that perspective, they had been very, very good, I must say, right? Building a new training center, you know, developing the stadium, the current stadium, and the new stadium for women. So
Yeah.
all these things are good for the in the long term for the club, because you're building assets for the club. And
Yes,
who doesn't
yes.
want to add equity to your assets? You know, we all do, right? So they are doing good for the club. The question is, you may say, okay, but what about, people may say, oh, you are raising the ticket prices, and you look, this is bizarre. 2% 2.5% ticket price increase, and obviously this jersey prices were 8.5% or 7%. I saw, the kit prices went up. The new kit that came out yesterday, right? So all those things,
Did you
yes.
like it?
So I didn't like it initially, but then when I looked at it in detail, I kind of see it, the heritage, the 80s theme that they're trying to bring in. I kind of see it. So I'm kind of indifferent now.
It's
Uh,
growing on you.
like it because it was too kind of old age, but maybe because I'm old.
No, it
uh,
usually takes time. I saw a picture of McAllister today, and I was like, it's not looking that bad that it looked yesterday.
yeah, there are. If you look at it, like maybe the pictures is not coming out, especially the collar area, right? But when you look at
Yeah.
it, oh, there is something kind of the old heritage, kind of the old 80s look,
Yeah.
which is coming out of that, but maybe not appropriate in this day and age. Gen Z
Yes.
and Ys and whatever gen.
Yeah. So you were
Coming
saying
back,
about it. Yeah.
yeah, no, coming back, I think they're doing the right thing for the club in terms of building assets and building the foundation, building all the right infrastructure for both men and women. And why not? Right? We just didn't we beat Chelsea?
Yes, we did. Yes, that
Yeah,
was a great match. 4-3
great
at
match, right?
home.
I didn't see it live, of course. I saw the highlights. The great match. So, once you do that, then it's not overnight that you will get success. It takes
Yeah.
its process. It takes time. So slowly and surely, we need to be better in women's football because I don't think we are there yet, like other top
Yeah. But we're
clubs.
still, fourth this season. Hopefully, we'll end up fourth
It's a
on the
big
league table.
progress,
So,
right? It's a
yes,
huge
yes.
progress.
Yeah.
So
Considering we were relegated and we got
really
promoted.
exactly right.
So,
Exactly right.
good
So that's a
progress.
huge progress. Then the what I like about is they are trying to develop this academy,
Yeah.
under 21, under 18s, and stuff like that. What I would like them to do more and more is the scouting system, which is much still more Eurocentric. They need
Hmm.
to more dig deep into the South American
Okay. Yeah.
scouting system, where City and Chelsea and Arsenal now have made huge inroad.
Yeah.
So you are now there. You need to bring in those talents right now because I don't think they have explored much there.
Yeah.
Even Brighton, they are doing fantastic recruitment, right? And they have
Yeah.
good network, solid network in South America. So
Yeah.
overall, I think they are doing good. And in the long run, right, with all these implementations of these transfer policies that there is a threshold. Beyond that, you cannot make like $1 billion of transfer in 2-3 windows, right? Those days are gone now.
Hmm.
So which is that you know proves the point that what they had been doing, it was the right thing. However, we all agree and we all know that they could have spent just a teensy bit more on the right player and a certain time, and not like hold back on this to wait for that right player. Maybe we could have been talking about three titles by now,
Hmm.
Premier League titles by now. It's just those small details which, and by the way, we don't know. It could be a combination of factors. It may not be them, because I I have expressed this on Twitter. I find it hard to believe that with the success of 2017, 2018, right, and 2019 after winning the league, right, if Klopp had wanted a player and FSG said no, I will not give you because we don't have the money of spending $30 million more or $40 million. I'd be surprised to know that, right? Yes, Klopp did say, "Oh, I asked for, it's not that I have a blank check and I cannot." No, it's not about that. It's not like you're trying to buy,
Hmm.
Bellingham for 150 million euros, right? It's just
Hmm.
the small details that could have made us look much better. The Klopp era look much better, and who knows? But overall, I think they're doing a good job, in my opinion.
Great. Good to know, and so much that I learned from this podcast, Shumit. Thank you so much for giving us your time today, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show, and we'll talk about some other topics.
Sure.
Thank you so much for
Hopefully on a
joining us.
better note, right? Mid
I'm,
season.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Hopefully
get
on
it.
a better note mid season, or maybe in the transfer window, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Let's
Thank
do
you
that.
so very much,
Thank you
Anila.
so much.
Good luck.
Thank. Good luck to you as well. Thank you so much.
Bye.